I made this opening a 1/2 inch wider than it needed to be, just because I wanted to make sure I was able to get the pan in and not fight it into place. If you made it 54 inches on the spot, it can be really problematic, especially with the new, the framing we have these days. Nothing's ever completely straight or flat. But you can see here, I'm in pretty good shape because all of my studs are in line. They all meet this. And what I'm going to do, since I have 1/2 inch drywall, I'm going to make sure that my flange is butted up against the side that I'm trying to match my drywall. And then on this side, I'm going to add a 1/2 inch layer, shimming this out so that I could get my wall board to meet up. So this is the location of how I'm going to be installing this. The other thing I want you to notice is that I have a couple of inches beyond my curb to the edge of my partition wall. This is a great idea to be able to have this so that if you did a curb top or you have your tile, it can meet right into the side rather than overhanging the outside of the partition. So, make sure that you have a little bit of room between the edge of your curb and the edge of your wall. So this is where we're going to be locating it. So I'm just going to make a little indentation of where my drain location is, and we're going to cut out that plywood and then install the P-trap to be able to connect to that. But this is exactly where I need it to set. Okay, so when you're cutting out plywood, I would advise trying to reference where the seams of your plywood is. So you can see here I have a joist right here, and then I have nails right here, and this is 24 inch on center framing. So I have a stud right here. So try to find the seam of your plywood. If you can't find that, try to locate a fastener where it's at. But if you can't find anything that represents where your joists are, you're just gonna have to cut it out and then basically measure and find the joist and make it a little bit wider. So I do have a tutorial on if you don't have any framing underneath of your wall and how to connect that area. But in this scenario, I'm basically kind of right in the center here. So I'm going to cut out this area. Give yourself a little bit of room, but I'm going to be patching in this entire area here. Okay, so kind of knew that this is kind of where it was going to be, but a lot of times you're going to have existing plumbing that connected for your tub drain if you're converting from a tub to a shower. So this is going to be pretty simple. Basically going to be just aligning this right where I need it for my drain. So I'm going to show you a quick trick on how to make sure that you align this with your pan properly. This is tucked here. This is tucked up against the back wall. Everything's even. So what we'll do is measure from our framing here to the center of our location. So our drain, now you can just measure from the back of the pan too, but I just want to make sure that in the opening I'm going to get this drain exactly where I need it to be. So this is going to be our riser pipe. So measuring off of our rough framing, we got 6.5 inches. We got 6.5. So that confirms, because it's 6 inches away from the back edge of the wall on the offset. And then from the back wall, we're essentially 16.5 inches. So we need to be 6.5, 16.5, and that's exactly where we need to have the riser pipe. So we'll pull that back out and we'll make sure that this drain goes in that location. All right, so the easiest way to maintain that is to just get a scrap piece of plywood, screw this into place, and then we'll measure that measurement. From this was 6.5, and this was 16.5. That's exactly where we need that riser pipe. So I'll just cut a hole for the 2-inch pipe. So now that's exactly where we need it. So now let's just go ahead and ensure that this is going to be cut. To make that happen. Perfect. And now we can just glue it in. And we're going to keep this wild. I don't need it this much up. We'll just cut it back here a little bit. Just like a couple inches outside of the pan. But this is what's so great about this pan connection, is that you can just have the riser pipe come wild out of the floor, set the pan in, and then you're good to go. So it really is awesome to be able to glue everything and get this right into the place that you need it. So ABS is a little bit less forgiving than most other, like PVC. PVC, you have a little bit more time, but you know, this is a matter of just, you get a couple minutes. That's where it's nice to have an extra P-trap. So if you're doing this, rather than having to run back out and get another one, I always have 2 of these on hand, just in case I don't glue them in right. And I can always cut back further and redo everything. So, you know, it's painful when you only have one and it doesn't fit, and then you have to run around and get, you know, it could take hours of time. So, but let's just go ahead and glue all the fittings, including the pipe coming in. And just one side of my riser pipe. Okay. So then we're just gonna stick this in. For a couple seconds. It should be good to go. So ABS, you do have a little bit of flexibility. I mean, but we're right where we need it. Everything's plumb and ready to go. So now we'll get our plywood in. That centers right where we need it. Now you could go ahead and test the pan again if you want. That's not a bad idea, just to make sure. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. It's a little bit cumbersome to get over that riser pipe, but once everything's glued, you're good to go. But so yeah, this is just going to be able to stick up. We'll be able to cut this down with an inside pipe cutter. I actually kind of like leaving it up a little bit like that so I can get multiple cuts. It's always a good idea, if you haven't used an inside pipe cutter all that much, to do it a couple, you know, test cut before you get down to the main one. Because the biggest thing is you just want this rubber gasket and the top of that pipe to be at the same level, so that when you tighten this down, you're squeezing the entire rubber gasket around the actual riser pipe. You just don't want to have the right, you know, say for instance, say if this is inside the drain here, you don't want this pipe sticking up outside of your brass fitting. You want it to look like this. This is the way you want it to be. You basically want it to be flush, so then when I thread this in, I'm tightening all the way on there. So this is basically, the way this works is basically the flat edge of this is compressed down in the bottom of this fitting, and then when I tighten this, it basically seals it completely against that pipe. But if you have the riser pipe too high, then water can sit around it and not, you know, it kind of just sits there. It's not going to leak, but you know, you don't want standing water in the drain. You want it to be even with it so that everything drains properly. But we'll show you the connection after we get the pan set into place.